Hello, I'm Sean Lowry, Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Lowry Solutions, and we have a really cool webcast for everyone today. I'm joined by Doug Brown, Regional Marketing Manager at Honeywell. And Doug, this is going to be a fun one, so thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I really appreciate it.
Doug, the main reason I'm really excited for today's conversation is we get to talk about the wow and the for everything from device management to proximity tracking solutions. And of course, all this is delivered by Honeywell's operational intelligence platform, or OpIntel as it's often referred to. But before we dive right into it, I'd like to kind of talk about how it's enabling some of the key trends within the market. When we see VDC providing some context, we look at things around application modernization. We look at things like location tracking, getting visibility at the edge with mobile computers. So before we get into all the exciting solutions and tools that OpIntel enables, let's just start with the basics. What is operational intelligence?
I think the way to look at this is, customers have been buying this kind of technology, right? Barcode equipment, mobile computers, scanners, printers, for a long time. And getting the most out of that is always important to them. But I think you can take it even a step further and say, I also want to get the most out of my people, and I want to get the most out of my processes. Operational intelligence is a centralized software tool that basically is collecting data from sensors in Honeywell hardware in order to give you exactly what you're looking for, that ability to analyze and get the best performance out of your assets, your people, and your processes.
So, Doug, it sounds like, because of these sensors, right, and all this data that we're able to extract now, you're able to kind of leverage that in solving some real world problems or tackling different use cases. I guess, can you provide some examples maybe of some of the use cases that we're seeing customers leverage this data that they now have?
Yeah, so let's take some of the ones that are really common. Battery management is a big issue for a lot of customer environments, especially things like warehousing, where they're running multiple shifts and they're recharging batteries and swapping. So that's a real opportunity to not know what's going on and make financial purchases that you don't need to. So we're seeing that's a great area for problem solving. Mobile device management, some customers have it, some don't. Uh, MDMs classically have a lot of functionality that a lot of customers don't use, even though they purchased it. Operational intelligence can help with that MDM functionality as well. And then I think the other key area that's becoming extremely popular is managing your printers to do something that's almost like a printer as a service. So instead of the the old-fashioned way of kind of buying your printers, buying your media and your content, and kind of you own it. It's now, hey, I just want to pay to print. But you need data to really do that, right? I need to know, is my printer up and running right? How many things did I print? And what do I need to pay for? So all of those are kind of real examples of how people are using operational intelligence to manage their businesses today.
Yeah, I think those are great examples. I also think it's interesting because just in those three examples, right, it kind of spans the areas where there's some low hanging fruit, like battery management, right, and optimizing spend on what's nearly a consumable, right, on the mobile computing side of things, to something much more complex, like managing printers and enabling things like print as a service, and yet it's all enabled through the same platform, which is fantastic. Um, but Doug, so those are great kind of operational challenges, right? That we're tackling, and those certainly provide value. That said, we know that the C-suite and finance, they want to hear oftentimes a conversation about ROI, the return on the investment. So, how do some of the solutions equate to like dollars and cents impact from an ROI perspective.
Yeah, money, right? That's where it really comes down to where it's really important. So there's a lot of ways they can do that. So let me give you some live examples. So the first stat you see here is up to 30% of devices go missing. I can tell you, Honeywell, we have customers that lose thousands of handheld devices a year that they purchase. Retailers are really experience this a lot. It's just because of the environment that I think they're in, they lose that equipment. But even if you're in a warehouse or a distribution center or even manufacturing, there's going to be times when a worker's going to put a device down, walk away for whatever reason, and they come back and they cannot find it. That device costs a lot of money. Operational intelligence can watch that device. We know where it's located inside the building. We can tell if it's still communicating. We can send the worker back to that area, and we have tools available that would allow them to find that device, to get it to beep and to flash and to vibrate, do all the things they can do to draw attention to itself. So that's really important to the organization to say, not only did I lose the productivity of this device is missing right now and somebody's having to go find it, but I recovered that device. So that's real dollars, and that's pretty easy to measure real quick. Other areas have to do with things like your repairs and things like that. We can Op can see when your workers are dropping devices, and maybe that drop is not quite as accidental as maybe as it appears it is. You can see those patterns and see what kind of damage is being done to the equipment. But we also can monitor the repair process. We can monitor the device being sent back for repair and track all of that logistics of all of that. Keep that equipment up and running more often. And the other thing, this stat here says is 10% of devices fail before the shift is over. Some of that has to do with batteries. Just to give you some examples, if a worker grabs a battery, sticks it in a device, and goes out to work their shift, and has to go back to the charger before the day's over to get a different battery, that's a problem. Well, why are you having that occur? Could it be that your workers are grabbing batteries that aren't fully charged? Very possible. Or is it that your batteries themselves are depleted enough they won't last a full shift? Operational intelligence can answer that exact question and tell you what's really going on, so you can go solve the real problem, not the, well, this is what I think's happening problem. So that's the beauty of this, is it really can save you money. Let's say, for example, you have 500 batteries in your operation, and OpIntel tells you that 30% of them are perfectly fine. They've got 6 or 9 months of life left in them, but the 70% of your batteries need to be replaced. How are you going to find those 70% of those batteries? You're going to walk around with a test tool, or are you going to have a big spreadsheet of bad batteries? Nobody's going to do that.
Right.
Operational intelligence has a really cool ability to actually tell the worker, you have plugged in a bad battery, go back to the charger, replace it, throw this bad one in the red bucket, and don't use it anymore. The system itself diagnose the problem and solve the problem without you really having to get involved. So that's the beauty of what operational intelligence brings to the table now.
Yeah, and I think both, the battery example as well as devices being sent out for repair, right? So they don't have enough devices, or they are, with the batteries throwing things away. That's the thing that we see with our customers, right? Is when you don't have that sensor data, that granularity, you end up just overspending, right? And so if you have a recurring amount of devices that are back at depot being repaired, then you may buy is telling you we don't have enough devices, and yet it seems like there should be plenty of devices. Or to your point, if you have 30% of the battery pool that is beyond its useful life anymore, how do you, without being able to find those exact 30%, oftentimes customers default to, well, we got to refresh the fleet of batteries, right? We have
Exactly.
500 devices, we need 500 new batteries. And when you might be cannibalizing a lot of still very functional, useful life batteries. So
It's wasted
uh,
money for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Those are all great examples, and I think it does just provide a small view into what operational intelligence can do today. I mean, we're really only able to scratch the surface on the existing capabilities, but I certainly appreciate you joining us for that. I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people viewing this that are interested in more information. There's plenty of additional resources both on Honeywell's website as well as Lowry Solutions website. And one of the things that we'd like to offer for folks viewing this webcast is if you contact Lowry and reference this episode, we'll actually work with you in providing a free OpIntel pilot. So probably about the best price you're going to get. Free is really hard to beat.
That's a great
Um,
price.
but also, if you found this content useful, please make sure you hit the like button and click on the bell as well to be notified of future webcasts. We'll be diving deeper into operational intelligence and some of the other exciting technologies that Honeywell is bringing to market in the upcoming year. So thank you all for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. If there's any additional suggestions that you have for future topics, please feel free to note those in the YouTube chat or reach out to us directly. Very interested in understanding what technologies we might want to hear and talk about further. So Doug, thank you for the time today. Really appreciate all of the insights, and we'll talk with you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a great one.